All right, everybody. This is Mike Albert, Senior Experience Manager with the Bay Lakes Council. Thank you for tuning in tonight. We're going to wait about 2 more minutes or so to let a few more people tune in. So we'll be right back. But yeah, thank you for tuning in for this evening's final camp webinar for the Boy Scout 2018 summer camp season. So again, we'll be back here in about, we'll go with 7:32. We'll get kicked off for tonight's webinar. All right, everybody, we're going to get going because it is 7:32 on the dot. Thank you again for tuning in this evening. We've got, again, my name's Mike Alberts. I'm the Senior Experience Manager here with the Bay Lakes Council. With me on the other side of the screen, we've got Brian Combs. He's our Experience Manager, also an Experience Manager here with the Bay Lakes Council. Between the two of us, we work with all of our residence camp operations during the summer, and then all the council level programs the rest of the year. So Brian works directly with our Cub and Weeblo programs at Cub Scout World, Twin Lakes, and the Cub and Weeblo sessions at Camp Hiawatha during the summer, and then I work with our Boy Scout operations at Bear Paw, Gardner Dam, and Camp Hiawatha for the remainder of the summer. So Brian is going to be running the technology for me on the screen and the camera, and then I'm actually monitoring us right here on my phone, so as we go through the webinar, I'll be able to respond to your guys' questions. So,
you can just touch the screen.
Oh, apparently we can.
That's fancy.
Again, we're still learning this. This is actually our for the webinars. This is our 6th webinar. We've already done 3 for our Cub Scout camps. One back in February, one in March, and one about an hour ago. It started. It just wrapped up about 15 minutes ago. This will be our 3rd of the Boy Scout, our 3rd and final one for the 2018 season. So we're still definitely working out some of the technology, and I think we're doing all right. But
yeah, we think this is better than what we've done in the past.
This is a little bit probably for you guys at home. This is probably a lot better than you have to be at home at 7 o'clock to listen to us on watch a PowerPoint. At least with this, you can come back and watch it later at your leisure. So again, we introduced ourselves. Brian Combs and Mike Alberts with the Experience team here at the Bay Lakes Council. There's a couple of different ways. The way this kind of works is questions. Obviously, there's going to be things. First off, if you've already attended our previous webinars, the content at this one is going to be pretty much the same. There's no new, not a whole lot of new information. I don't think really, other than
just the questions at the end.
Just the questions. So we're going to go through we're going to go through the bulk of it, the PowerPoint, and then from there, what usually in all the webinars we've done this year, at least, and all the ones I've done in the past, the bulk of it comes down to your guys' questions. So what we're going to do is, as we go through, if you have a question, go ahead, type it in that comment section down on the bottom of the screen under the video. It's going to show up on my phone here. Most likely, we'll probably hold off until the Q&A section at the very end, and we'll go through all of those. Depending on what it is, we might jump in and answer it right away. We are scheduled for a wrap-up time of 8:25, so none of our webinars have gone the full 55 minutes yet. So we're kind of guessing this one won't either, but if for some reason it does, we're going to wrap up at 8:55 or 8:25, excuse me, this evening. If you have additional questions that we just don't get to tonight, that's fine. Or if you come up with the questions after we've done with the webinar, what you can do is go ahead and still put those in the comments. Tomorrow morning when we come into the office, we're going to take all the comments from both the Boy Scout video that we're doing now and the Cub Scout video that we just wrapped up a little bit ago, and we're going to put those all together in a kind of a Q&A answer sheet that'll get posted back out to the Facebook page as well as to the baylakescamps.org website. So we're going to just kind of move through this. The agenda for tonight's PowerPoint presentation, obviously the welcome, we've already done that. We're going to talk about some important updates that have happened. Again, all the same information that we've shared at the previous webinars. The session dates, important dates outside of just when is camp going on, the pricing structure, registration, health forms, the arrival process, and again, the final part, which is probably going to be the bulk of tonight's presentation, that Q&A session, for an opportunity for you guys to ask us questions, and we're going to answer them. If somebody manages to stump us, we will get back to you with an answer. So, not that that's a challenge to try to stump us. So, going ahead, one of the biggest important updates for the 2018 summer camp season as it relates to Boy Scout Residence Camp. And again, this is for the Boy Scout Residence Camp only. A new youth protection policy has been put into effect, effective for the 2018 season. Any adults accompanying a Boy Scout troop to residence camp must be a registered leader, which means they've completed an application, completed youth protection training, and undergone a background check that we run using your application. So, we need all adults that attend camp have to have are currently registered adults with current youth protection training and undergone that background check. Now, one question, this is one of the things that we get lots of questions on since we rolled it out at our first webinar. And just to try to cut that off at the pass. If someone has youth protection currently, they are good to attend camp this summer. Effective in October is when every adult will have to have taken that new updated youth protection training. Back in February, the National Organization of the Boy Scouts of America, the national office, has rolled out an updated youth protection training that goes more into covering all of our programs. Prior to that, there was a separate training for our exploring program. There was a separate training for our Cub Scout and Boy Scout program, and a separate training for our venturing program. What they've done is to simplify it, and there is one youth protection training for the Boy Scouts of America. So whether you're working with a 6-year-old Cub Scout or a 20-year-old explorer or venturer, it's the same training across the board for everybody. So in October, everyone will have to take that training. If you have youth protection at this moment, whether it was what I refer to as the new or old course, you're good, as long as it's still a valid training. So you don't need to rush out and take the course before summer camp, but you do need to take it this fall. So, and it covers a lot. I know I've already done my training. It's got some really good content that I think will help a lot of our adults, especially with some of our new changes in the scouting program, being the full family. It covers more of that, not just working with young men, but now also working with young ladies. So
I had a question. So what about day visitors and, the parent driving the van up to camp to bring the scouts to camp?
Yep, so that is a great question. And we, if mom or dad or somebody is going to be helping drive scouts up to camp or drive them home for camp, that's awesome, that's great. We love to have that parent involvement. If mom or dad are gonna, or grandma, grandpa, aunts and uncles want to come up and see their scout at camp and visit, join them for a meal, have them show them around camp, they can do that. Individuals that are checking in as visitors, so day visitors, whether it's mom, dad, aunt, uncle, whoever, just come to check on their scout, or a parent that's just helping drive scouts to camp and drive scouts from camp, they do not need to be registered. Anyone that is going to be registered as a participant, so even if they're staying for one night in camp, if they're going to be registered as a participant spending the night in camp, they need to be a registered adult leader. So to answer the question, what if an adult only wants to stay one night in camp? Do they need to be? So yes, they need to be a registered volunteer with the Boy Scouts of America in order to be staying overnight in camp. So. Next slide. So looking at some program updates that are important. Program registration updates. So the Gardner Dam Scout Camp, looking at Gardner Dam, the first year camper program registration is online. The all-terrain vehicle, the ATV sign-up course is also online. Remember, if a scout is doing ATVs, they need to take both the online portion of the course from the state of Wisconsin's Department of Natural Resources, and then they'll take the course also then when they get to Gardner Dam. There is an additional program fee for that, so please remember to have the little scouts prepare for that. Bear Paw Provisional Week. We do every year have a week that is designated as a Provisional Scouts. What a Provisional Scout Week is they have scouts that look at whether it's they're not going to camp with their troop, or their troop when their troop is going doesn't work into their schedule. What they end up doing is they will go and we will provide some leadership, and they can come and attend camp with some leaders that we provide. That is done during week number 5 at Bear Paw. But if for some reason, if a scout is not able to attend during week 5, if you reach out to us here at the Center for Scouting, we will look to find and identify another unit that can possibly have that scout attend with them. So we're going to work with you guys. If you have a scout that wants to attend camp, but for whatever reason can't attend with the troop, the provisional week doesn't work for them, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that scout can have that summer camp experience if that's what they want to do. Prereqs. So a fun thing that happens in the BSA world is we update things. And sometimes things don't necessarily line up on a timeline in the most helpful fashion for everyone. So in an interest to get information out to unit leaders as soon as possible so they could start planning for the residence camp this summer, we released our program guides for all of our Boy Scout camps. Unfortunately, after we released that information where it talks about what merit badges we're offering and what merit badge prerequisites we have, unfortunately after that point, once we released all that information, there was an update done at the national organization through the advancement committee at the national office. The only change we took, as soon as it was brought to our attention from one of our unit leaders that was helping their scouts plan ahead, the first thing, so we went through and looked at all the merit badges we're offering and all the prereqs and requirements that changed. And the only change that we found that affected any of our merit badges that we're offering this summer is in first aid merit badge. And it's not that the requirement necessarily changed, they just did some renumbering. So what used to be requirement 2D for the first aid merit badge is now, under the 2018 requirements book, number 5. And that's where the scout makes their own homemade first aid kit. That's the only change in all of all of the merit badges that we were offering this summer. That was the only change that we found, and it wasn't necessarily what they have to do change, just what number it is in the book change. So again, to make sure that you guys are looking at the right prerequisites and things, the units need to be, we base our merit badges off of the most current requirements, which would be the 2018 requirements book. So, looking at our session dates, we run a number of different sessions between our 3 Boy Scout camps. Bear Paw and Gardner Dam run on a similar session model. Bear Paw's got 6 sessions this year, starting June 24th through through the last session wrapping up July 29th. Gardner Dam has 5 sessions this summer. This is a recent change. We had we didn't really have a lot of sign up in week 6. And to make sure that those scouts had a great experience, camp is no fun if you're there by yourself. So we worked with the units that were signed up during week 6, and through their unit leaders, we were able to get them to adjust their camp season. So they're still going to be getting a summer camp experience with us here at the Bay Lakes Council. It's just not necessarily going to be at Gardner Dam during a week 6. And then Camp Hiawatha, we run 3 sessions starting July 8th and wrapping up the last session starting July 22nd. So again, all the sessions you see on the board, the 6 sessions at Bear Paw, the 5 sessions at Gardner Dam, and the 3 sessions at Camp Hiawatha. There's still space in there. Some of the weeks have more space than others. So if you're still looking to have some additional scouts come, that's great. Just reach out to us here at the Center for Scouting, and we'll be able to help facilitate that. Important dates. So starting at the top, working our way down, March 1st, which is already come and gone. That was when your $100 per scout deposit was due to us here at the Center for Scouting. So that date is actually come and gone. Then also on March 1st was our campership forms due. We had a large number of camperships submitted this year. Our committee met earlier in March, and at this point, everyone that applied, we've sent out the notices, what they were awarded. So that should have come back to your unit leader. So we've already gone through that process for this year. Looking at webinars, we talked about it back in March. We did our second Boy Scout Summer Camp specific webinar, and then tonight you're with us right now doing our final 2018 camp webinar. Right around the corner, I believe just 5 days away, March 1st is the final payment to qualify for early bird pricing. And this is for both youth and adults. So we'll get into what early bird pricing is here in a second with the next slide. But the important thing to know is it's right around the corner. The early bird pricing, it will end on the 1st is the last day. Now that can mean that you made your payment online, you physically dropped off a check here at the Center for Scouting, or the other option is, as long as it's if you're mailing a check to us here at the office, the most important thing is that it's postmarked by May 1st. Everything after that will go, as you can see, May 2nd is when we go into what we refer to as our regular pricing goes into effect. The last, and there's one thing that's missing, so we've got June 1st is our special dietary requests are due. This year we've been able to partner with a new food service vendor for all 5 of our residence camp operations. We're very excited about this. Just like us, they're interested in making sure that everyone has the greatest camp experiences possible. So one of the things they do that's very unique, at least in my experience and the different food vendors that I've worked with in the camping world, is when we get all of our camp dietary request forms, they actually have a licensed dietitian that will go through those forms, review them, contact the families if needed, to make sure that we fully understand what those needs are for the scout or the adult that they're into camp, and then we'll work through the menu to make sure that they're going to get something as close to what the standard menu items are without necessarily going completely different. So they're going to do their best to match whatever that dietary need is with what the menu is already calling for the rest of the camp. So it is super imperative that by June 1st we get all those dietary forms sent in so that we can make sure that all that planning happens. Because looking at all of our camps across the board, we're going to have probably close to 5,000 people attending all of our camps this summer, maybe more. Actually more, sorry.
So something about the special dietary request, the form. You kind of have 2 options this summer. You can submit those directly to us here for the Center for Scouting. Please, please, please don't send those to camp. I know in years past we sent those forms to camp, but don't do that this year. So you can send them straight here to the Center for Scouting by June 1st, or alternatively, if you we just updated that form about a couple weeks ago. So if you look at that form, it's completely reworked, but you'll notice that there's also a dedicated email to send that form to. So I forget, I think it's Yara. I'm probably butchering the name a little bit, but she is actually our assigned dietitian for our camps. So her email address is on that form, so you can either submit the form directly to her, that will work, or if you just feel more comfortable submitting it to us, we'll ensure it gets over to our dietitian. So a couple different options for you.
Yep. So the one item that is missing, also with a June 1st deadline, that I apologize that I did not catch when I was updating the slides, the new scouts. So right now it's springtime. We know that a lot of our Cubs, our Webelos, are looking at Boy Scout troops. They're crossing over if they haven't already. Because there is a difference, obviously, between Webelos residence camp and Boy Scout camp, we give you a little bit extra time for those scouts to get that early bird pricing. So any of your new Webelo crossovers, we have an extension on that early bird pricing till the June 1st deadline. And then the last one, important date to remember, is August 10th for your refund request. So when it comes to the refund request, there's two different ways to get the form. The first way is to contact us here at the Center for Scouting. You'll talk to Laura, and she will send you guys the form. And as part of that, you'll let her know who we're requesting the refund for, and she'll make sure that she makes those proper corrections on the your guys' roster to make sure that when you guys show up at camp, our staff isn't looking for an additional scout. The other option, if for some reason it's closer to camp and you don't, it's the scout got injured, something like that. The other option is while you're at camp, you can talk to the service director at the camp office. They also have a copy of the forms. So those are the different ways to get your request forms. Anything not received by August 10th won't be considered for a refund. So please, 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 if any reason, if you need a refund requested, please make sure that you guys get that paperwork sent in to us by August 10th. So I see there's a question regarding, we have Cub Scout who is looking to join our troop on June 11th when he turns 11. Is he eligible to sign up for summer camp? When does he have to sign up by? Is his price the $360? Would he be eligible for a campership? So that's a great question. If he's not going to be 11 until after the June 1st cutoff, that's when he's going to sign up for. What I would do is have him. If you know he's going to go to camp and you know that right now, go ahead, have him sign up for camp now. What's going to happen is we're going to flag his name saying that he's not currently registered, which will be corrected by the time you guys show up at camp. But he needs to get registered now so he can put in for his merit badges and all those things. So that would then follow the new scout early bird pricing. So he would be at that other whatever the price for that early bird pricing until June 1st is. And then as for eligible for camperships, it's kind of a strange thing. Anyone that's a new scout, such as this, if you submit the campership form to us, we review them. We're not going to guarantee we're going to be able to help them with a campership, but if you submit the form, we understand that if the scout doesn't join Boy Scouting until after the deadline, we'll kind of work with those and we review those on a case-by-case basis. But so you can go ahead, have him register now. His name will just get flagged on the roster as not currently registered in the Boy Scouts of America. It'll follow the normal pricing structure, and then when you guys get him registered, that flag will go off his roster. So moving on to the next pricing. So looking at our pricing, looking at early bird, Bear Paw and Gardner Dam have the same pricing structure. Early bird pricing for our youth is, $325 per scout. Camp Hiawatha is a little bit less. It's $310 per scout. Adults at all three Boy Scout camps are $160 for the full week. We do understand that not everybody can get a full week's vacation to come to summer camp. So we do also, for the adult leaders, have a per day rate of $27 per day. So again, the adult rates are the same across all three Boy Scout camp operations, $160 for the full week and $27 for the per day price. If for some reason you guys can't get if the payments aren't in by the May 1st early bird cutoff, then we go into our regular pricing. Regular pricing is essentially a $35 across-the-board fee added to that. So for the Gardner Dam and Bear Paw, it's going to be $360. Camp Hiawatha will be at $345. Across the board, all the adults will be $195, and if their per day rate would be $33. So again, working with your units, work with your treasurer. Make sure you guys take advantage of that early bird pricing to get into camp. So we currently don't have pricing for scouts looking to come for just an individual day. Douglas had asked about, do we have a price for scouts that want to just come to for a few days during the week? Currently, that's not something in our structure. Something we can look at for the future. However, I don't know. That's just not something that we've ever had been asked before. At this point, that's not
for this year.
For this year, so.
But we'll add on to, we're actually running a 2019 idea board and topics to talk about, so we'll definitely add that one on.
So, yeah, we will look at adding that as an option to make possibly for 2019, at least something to talk about. So, thank you to the folks that are putting in questions. We're just going to continue on, and I'll come back and cover all the questions at the very end. So, we will get to you guys. Just keep firing them away there, and we'll cover them when we get back to it. So, registration, most likely all your units are past this point. You've already gone to the baylakescamps.org page. If you go to that /boy-scouts/summer, you can see the URL there on the screen. If you go to that, that's going to drop you to a home page listing all 3 of our Boy Scout camps. Select the camp you guys are attending. In the upper corner, you're going to see a spot where it says making a reservation. Click on the week you guys are attending, and that's how you're actually going to go in, update your rosters, make payments, things like that. That's how that all works through that. So, probably one of the most number one things that can really slow down a unit on check-in day is your health forms. They're very complicated, they can be challenging, and they're a very important piece of paper that, they're a very important document that you guys will need to make sure you guys have a good camp experience. So, we're going to go through these bullet points and make sure that everybody understands them, and hopefully we don't have any, this will help you guys speed up your check-in process. So, first off, for everyone that's attending camp as a participant, youth and adult, we need to have a BSA health form. We only accept the Boy Scouts of America health forms. We don't accept a Boy Scout, or excuse me, we don't accept a sports physical. We don't expect military ones or school physicals. It has to be on a BSA health form. That is a requirement that we have from the Boy Scouts that we need to follow. So please make sure all your scouts have the correct form. For Boy Scout Residence Camp, you need parts A, B, and C. And I think everybody's probably well aware of what A, B, and C are, or that there's 3 parts to our form. Part A is important. On the top, it talks about photo release. On the bottom of that page, it talks about who's allowed to take a youth in and out of camp. One of the things that we need to always make sure of is that we're always concerned about is our scouts' safety. So if for any reason a scout is going to have to depart camp early, for any reason, on the bottom of that, the parents need to fill out who's allowed to take their scout from camp. And even if a mom or dad don't plan on a scout having to leave, things happen. Things happen. Scouts have to leave for whatever reason. Something comes up. Make sure that that's filled out. Because if somebody shows up at one of our camp offices and says, I'm here to pick up Timmy and take him home, if they're not listed on his release form by mom or dad or a parent that signs off, we're not going to release that scout to them because our concern is their safety, and we want those scouts, we want to know who's taking our scouts out of camp. So that's on Part A. On Part B, it talks about your medical history. That's the other part that's filled out by your parents at home. Please don't forget when it comes to the immunizations, everybody has to have their tetanus shot within the last 10 years. That's another one that will get people really hung up at camp on check-in day if they haven't received their tetanus shot in the last 10 years. So it's not just enough to write that it's current. We need a year, preferably a month, so we can really narrow it down to make sure that that's up to date. If you want to make sure that your give us a chance to review your health forms before you arrive, go ahead and mail them to camp. If you mail them out, preferably at least 2 weeks before you arrive to the camp set for your session at camp, that'll give our health officer teams at all the camps a chance to review the forms and see if there's a signature that's off or a date is off or any little thing like that. I've seen all kinds of crazy things that one little signature is missed or a box isn't checked correctly, and that can actually slow down an entire unit's check-in process. So please mail your health forms at least 2 weeks prior to your arrival. Now, okay, a question we get, I'm coming week 1. Is there going to be someone there to get my health forms when they come in the mail? Yes. A member of this camp staff is at camp prior to camp starting to collect those health forms, put them in a secure location for the health officer to review. Right now, so there are the addresses to our camps. That's where you can go ahead and mail your forms to. At least, like I said, 2 weeks prior, a member of the camp staff will take them, get them to the health lodge, and make sure that they're reviewed before you guys arrive. Arrival process. Arrive at your times. We have set arrival times for all of our units to come into camp. That's the key. That's when our staff is going to be ready for you guys to arrive and be able to get ready, get you guys checked in, get you to campsites, get your site set up, get through all those different things, your health checks if you have to do them, med checks, swim checks. So please, 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 not so much with the Boy Scouts, it's not usually an issue, but one of the things you need to do is make sure that you arrive as a group. Meet up, whether it's at a church, a school, a fast food restaurant, because to grab lunch before you head out to camp. Meet as a group, travel as a caravan, so that way everybody's arriving at one time, so we can check you in as a full group, because we don't necessarily have enough site guides to cover 2 or 3 people from this unit, 2 or 3, in different broken groups. So please come as a group. Medication drop off at check-in. When you check in at camp, you'll be turning in all the medications for your folks. That needs to be done they need to be in their original prescription bottles with the labels on them. That's the only way that we'll be able to accept it. That is for a safety thing for you guys and your scouts and us. Those medications need to be back in their original containers with the names on it and who they're for, what they're for, all that information. So, questions and answers. We were able to get through all that content in about 30 minutes. So now I see there's quite a list of questions. So I'm going to kind of scroll back up to where I answered the last one, and we're going to roll down from there.
I'll take Douglas. You asked about early departures. You indicated you don't need the parents' names listed, just other adults I'll pick up. So it's a safe practice to put, even if their parents' names are in that parent section, because we have a lot of families. It's just the reality of today's world that divorced families where maybe a stepdad or a stepmom might not have the same last name. So we're not going to sit there and make that assumption that that person is authorized to take that youth from the event. So it is a safe practice to even if it's the parent, to list it in that section. It does you no harm.
The other half of that is in that same section there's a spot to list all the adults that can take a scout. Unfortunately, in the world we live in today, there's also a section where we list people that can't take the scout. And I've experienced this personally, where we had a parent who didn't have permission to take their son from camp, tried to take them, and we kind of stuck to our policy. You look at, if their name's not on the health form, you don't go. And we discovered that was the right call because of some things that were going on in that family. So mom or dad, we still want them to have their health, their names on the health form. So let me change the angle here so I can actually read some of these questions. Earlier parts we talked about that. Roger, how many scouts? We have some scouts who have their physicals late last June. Last year, their insurance will not allow them to have another test. So, with health forms, it's kind of a weird thing. They're good for a year to the end of the month. So, if a scout, I know I just had an email earlier today about this exact topic, and it may even been you, Roger, that sent it to me. If a scout got a physical on June 20th in 2017, that physical is good till the end of June. It's kind of weird. It goes to whatever the following year and then to the end of that month. So I hope that answers your question, Roger. I get it. Insurance companies are kind of sticklers about how often they let them. And I know when I schedule mine, they always want to go like 3 days after the date I got mine a previous year. I understand it's a challenge, but that's kind of the rules that we have to follow. Last year we wanted to dispense meds we were able to dispense meds in our campsite. Is that different this year? Yeah. This year, all of our medications are being distributed from the health lodge. What if your scout? What if your scout earned swimming merit badge last year? Do they have to redo a swim check? Yes. On an annual basis, just like our physical, scouts have to redo their swim checks. Even our BSA lifeguards that we have on our camp staffs, every year we make them do a swim check. It's probably one of their favorite things to do during staff week, because that's really the only time they get to enjoy their time in the lake or the pond, depending on what camp we're at. So on an annual basis, we have everybody goes through a swim check, again, even if they have a swimming merit badge, even if they're one of our lifeguards. So that's how that works. On the note of swim checks, again, that's part of your check-in process. So it doesn't hurt to remind your scouts and your leaders to have their towel, their swimsuit on the top of their bag. So when you guys, it's time to go to your swim check. It's not dig through everything they brought to camp to find their swimsuit and their towel. Maybe even have them wear it with their uniform on the way there. It sounds kind of goofy, but it definitely will help the check-in process for you guys. But adults have to turn their medications. Yep, everybody turns in their medications. The one exception is emergency medicine. So we have scouts that have allergies that use EpiPens. We want them to keep their EpiPens. We have scouts that need inhalers. They need to keep their inhalers. But anything that's like a breakfast, lunch, and dinner medications, all that stuff we're collecting, and we're going to be able to do that. Our week is the 1st of July. Okay, I'm not sure.
So cooking, can you explain a bit about cooking meals at Gardner Dam?
Cooking. Provided grills, or do we need to cook grills? So there's a number of different ways you can do cooking at Gardner Dam. In the sense that we're Gardner Dam and Camp Hiawatha, they're both patrol method camps, meaning as a unit, you guys will divide your scouts and adults into patrols, and you'll cook in your campsite with the exception of 1 or 2, depending on what camp meals. Those are provided by our staff. So you can do a number of different ways. If a unit wants, you can bring, I know I've seen units, they come with propane stoves and extra tanks. They cook right on propane stoves. That's great. That's I would say probably the most quick and efficient way because you still only have so much time for meals before you get back into program. I've seen scout units for certain meals cook over a campfire or over charcoal. So you guys can do really any of those models. Cook over a stove, cook over a propane stove, cook over a campfire, cook over charcoal. You can do all of those. Do we provide those things? Yes and no. We don't provide. We have some we have some grills in camp that you can request. We do have some propane tanks that can be rented or purchased from us, but we don't have a lot. So I would encourage units to bring that material with you. 1, so you know you have it. 2, hopefully you're having your scouts under adult supervision prepare the meals from picking it up at the commissary to prepping the stove, so if your scouts are using your troop's equipment, they're hopefully going to know how to operate it. Granted, the adults will be right there to help supervise, but I think that'll be the best. And I would say probably from an efficiency, just in a time, I know when I cook with charcoal at home, it takes a lot longer for things to heat up. Sometimes if it's wet, it just doesn't want to light, things like that. If you're using propane, you know it's going to light unless the tank is empty, which could be a challenge. So I would encourage you guys to use, use propane, but you guys can use as whatever you as adult leaders feel the most comfortable with.
So another fun story. But so Mike and I were just up at Gardner Dam. We were working on the trading post actually, and we went through the room where they have all the patrol style cooking gear equipment, the quartermaster room. So there is plenty of Dutch ovens. So if you need a Dutch oven for a meal, we got 38 of them at Gardner Dam. We also have cooking grates that you can put over a campfire. If, you want to cook your chicken over a fire, you can do that. We also have pots and pans that can be
The old shelf kits.
Yep, that can be loaned out for the week. And just a wide variety of equipment when it comes to cooking. So if you're in need of any of that equipment, let Mike know. Send an email to reservations@baylakesbsa.org.
All right, we had a question. When is the next camp weekend event other than summer camp? So that is a great question, and it is also a hard question to answer because as the Bay Lakes Council, we've got lots of stuff going on. Almost every weekend there's something going on. So this upcoming weekend, I know of at least one event that's going on because I directly work with it. So the Order of the Arrow is having their spring fellowship. So we're going to acknowledge some scouts that have done some great things. We're going to get together at Bear Paw. I know we've got, there's a camporee going on at Gardner Dam this weekend. I'm trying to think. I believe the Roque Lyle, there's a Roque Lyle open house, Roque Lyle experience is going on at Camp Roque Lyle. Probably the best thing to do if you guys are interested in what activities we have going on throughout the council is to go to the council website, baylakesbsa.org. Go to the calendar, and on there you will find a whole variety of things. One way, and it might be a little overwhelming in fact, is if you go to the calendar, there's a spot where you can pick which organization is the term they use on the calendar right now, that they talk about what organization you want. And it usually defaults to Bay Lakes Council, but if you hit that drop-down menu, it lists all of our Boy Scout districts that we have throughout the council. And then the final one is all organizations. So if you click that all organizations one, you will see the calendar for all of our traditional districts, our exploring districts, and the council as a whole. Because I know that right now there's, especially in May, there's usually 2 or 3 camporees going on almost every weekend throughout the council, in addition to just open camp. Any unit at any time, for the most part, can reserve any of our camp properties to go out as a group, which also can be found on our Bay Lakes Council website. Do we have propane exchanges on site? We have some tanks on site. We don't have a large supply of them. If you guys do run out while you're in camp, we usually have somebody, Brian, myself, other members of the council staff. We kind of come and go almost on an every other day or every day basis to visit the camps, just see how things are going, checking in with the staff, checking in with you guys as our campers. As long as we have the notice, we'll make sure that we bring some tanks to camp with us, or working with the staff, they can always make a run to town, because unfortunately, sometimes we have to do that as well.
So I know I'm talking about gas, the smaller like Coleman tanks that most stoves are powered by or fueled by. We'll have those available in our trading post this summer. That's kind of a new item that we haven't done before. So those will be there, but if you're talking about like a 20-pound grill tank, we don't have a cage on site like a cage you would find at a Walmart or a
gas station.
Yeah, gas station. Going back earlier, I mentioned 2019 idea board. That's actually one of the ideas is also to bring that service, have an actual cage where units can exchange tanks or buy a tank if they need to. So we won't have those cages for 18, but something we're looking to do, partner up with a gas company for 19.
Yeah. So Roger asked the question about physicals. Some of your scouts won't be able to get their physicals till late June, and you guys are week 3, July 1st through the 7th. I understand that's going to be a challenge for you guys to get the 2 weeks, obviously, before camp. If you have some of your physicals done 2 weeks prior to camp, I think, I don't know, and off the top of my head, I don't know what size troop you're with, Roger. But if we can get through half of them or even a third of them before you guys arrive, that's just that many less that we need to try to do while you guys on the day you arrive at camp on that Sunday. also, there's some other things that we can work out. Like I said, I don't know where you're at. If you guys can get them all collected the week prior and, maybe get them here to us here in the Center for Scouting. I don't know exactly where you live at. We can hand deliver them up to camp or something like that. So we'll work with you guys the best we can to try to get that. Because again, our goal is to make sure that you guys have the most efficient, easy check-in, which can probably be, in some cases, as a unit leader, the most stressful day at camp, I'm guessing, is check-in, trying to get that group of scouts who just are excited about being at camp through all the kind of paperwork and hoops and things and requirements we have to do. And probably the second most challenging day, I guess, would be Saturday, when everybody was kind of tired and you just want to get everybody loaded up and go home. So we'll do everything we can to help support you guys. Douglas, I see you have a question about the youth protection. We're trying to get that clarified. So we have two different, you probably have seen some things on our camp's website and then things on our council website. We just are we got to get the terminology in sync. So the camps, we're having everyone that's coming to Boy Scout Residence Camp has to be a registered adult leader. So we're just trying to we have to get the wording updated on make sure it's the same on all locations. So, all right. Any other question? I think I got everything. Scrolling back up to see. We talked about the video. We talked about Cub Scout signups. So, well, I'm kind of waiting to see if any other questions get typed in. For you guys, thank you for those of you that the half dozen to a dozen folks that are tuning in while we do this live from the council office. Thank you for tuning in tonight. For those of you that where we find the bulk of folks, we'll actually tomorrow, once this is posted back onto or later tonight, or tomorrow once it's posted onto Facebook or to the YouTube channel and to our website, you guys will review it. Thank you for taking the time to come join us for this webinar, this live stream. Get the information so that you guys can have a successful camp experience. If you have questions, again, we have a team here at the Center for Scouting that is ready to kind of take care of you guys and be able to get that information. Again, Brian, our experience manager that works with our Cub Scout camps, he's here to help. Myself, working primarily with the Boy Scouts. Laura, who is our registration guru here in the office, rosters, fees, merit badge sign up, all those things. She is the point of contact here at the office Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 to help you guys make sure that all that paperwork ahead of time gets taken care of. So I see another question came in. Our Cub Scout joined June 1. He can sign up anytime before June 1 with early bird pricing, correct?
They just have to, so to answer the Cub Scout question, they just have to be paid in full by June 1st for that new crossover in order to get that lower price, depending on where you're going. If you're going to Twin Lakes or Camp Rocolio, $170. So they'll have until June 1st, an additional month to make full payment to lock in that lower price.
Yep. So another question, again, about the partial pricing for a youth. One of our scouts is attending a trip, an OA trip to Northern Tier that overlaps with the week that the troop is at summer camp. On his way back from Northern Tier, he wants to stop at Bear Paw. Would he have to pay the full price? So as of right now, we don't have a partial week pricing. If you can, for lack of better terms, work with us for a few days, we'll kind of review that and on a offline, not necessarily on this live stream environment, we can kind of put our heads together and see what makes sense, and we can maybe work something out for you. So we'll flag your question there, Douglas, and we'll reach out to you directly and work with you and your unit individually on that. So, and I'm glad to hear that one of your scouts has taken advantage of our great Order the Arrow opportunities at our high adventure bases. So that's great. So, again, went too far. Oh, that did not work the way I thought it would. So, with that, I don't see any other questions coming in. Again, I know I do this a lot, get off the phone with someone or somebody just walks out of sight, all of a sudden 2 or 3 more questions pop into my head for them. Feel free, if that happens to you guys, go ahead, put a comment in this video. put a comment in the video, and we will, when we go to repost this video out, all the questions and answers from this evening's program, when we post it on our Facebook page, when we post it on the website, we'll review those, answer them as they come in. Another great location that you can go to ask questions is through our baylakescamps.org website. On there, there's a spot you can do a contact us. There's 5 of us that get those emails when somebody contacts us. We respond fairly quickly, especially during the week when we're all around the office. Or you can call the office here. Again, there's also the reservations at baylakescamps.org. So there's a couple different ways to reach out to us. We'd love to answer any more questions for you guys. These webinars and the questions we get both during them and afterwards help us be able to provide a better experience for you and your scouts. We'll actually take these, we post them on the website so that we can help folks hopefully plan their trip to our camps. And then we also take that information and put it into the materials that we put together for the following season. So as hard as it's believed, we're 8 weeks from this year's the 2018 summer camps kicking off here in the Bay Lakes Council. And we're already working, and probably have been working for about a month, on the 2019 season already. So we'll take the information that we gather from folks now, and we'll apply it to the next year to make sure that we hopefully can answer all those questions up front in the resources we release early in the season. So with that, I'm not seeing any other questions. I'll scroll through one last time to make sure I checked all of them off and talked to everybody. It looks like we've got everything. So again, thank you for your time tonight, and we'll see you at one of our Bay Lakes Council camps in about 8 weeks. Have a good night.